From the world headquarters of Fox News, it's the Kelly File with Megyn Kelly.
Well, the U.S. Supreme Court is now considering a case that could have major implications for religious freedom. A Christian couple that owns a photography business refused to photograph a gay wedding. Well, the newlyweds sued them and won, with the New Mexico Supreme Court ruling that the Christians had to shoot the wedding or pay thousands of dollars in fines. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court may weigh in. Trace Gallagher has a report live in our West Coast newsroom. Hey, Trace.
And you have to remember, Megyn, that when Elane and Jonathan Huguenin declined to shoot that same-sex wedding, they were sued, as you said, paid thousands of dollars to the lesbian couple. That's when Alliance for Freedom jumped in there and decided to represent the Huguenins. The case made it all the way to the New Mexico Supreme Court, where the court found the Huguenins did violate the New Mexico Human Rights Act, but that the state did not violate their rights, saying, and I'm quoting here, the Huguenins have to channel their conduct, not their beliefs, so as to leave space for other Americans who believe something different. I would say to the Huguenins, with the utmost respect, it is the price of citizenship. So they can believe as they wish, they just can't act on it. Alliance Defending Freedom disagrees, saying, again quoting here, should the government force an African-American photographer to take pictures of a KKK rally? A government that can force anyone to promote messages against his or her will is a government out of control. The ACLU then responded by saying this. Listen.
This is really about a basic question of fairness. You have a store on the street that has its doors open to the public. And again, just imagine your son or daughter. Think about going into a business and having them being sent away because of who they are.
So Alliance Defending Freedom has now filed a petition with the Supreme Court, and we wait to see if the Supreme Court will review that petition. Megyn.
All right, Trace, thank you. Joining me now with more on this potential landmark case, Jordan Lorence, Vice President of Alliance Defending Freedom. That's the group representing the Christian photographers. Jordan, good to see you. All right, so let me start with this. This is what the ACLU is arguing. How is this different from a restaurant refusing service to a black couple?
Well, it's totally different because there's no messages being sent at the lunch counter, but there is with photographs. They're telling the story of this wedding. And if the government can force you to promote a message you don't agree with or be punished, we're not living in a free society anymore. They can't tell you what bumper stickers to put on or say a pledge of allegiance for same-sex marriage or something like that. And that's essentially what's going on here by forcing a photographer to make images she doesn't agree with.
But the argument is that New Mexico recognizes sexual orientation as a protected class. Not everybody does, but New Mexico does. And therefore, if you're going to live in New Mexico, you got to live by the laws. And the laws say you cannot discriminate against gays and lesbians the same way you can't discriminate against blacks and women and people who are handicapped and people over 40.
Well, the law also includes the U.S. Constitution and the First Amendment, which says that the government can't compel people to speak against their own conscience. And that's what's going on here. The photographs tell a story. I mean, we can think of famous photographs, the three firemen raising the flag over the rubble of 9/11. That's the type of style that Elane Huguenin uses to photograph weddings, capturing those spontaneous moments and telling the story. So the government says, either you tell the story of a wedding you disagree with, or else we're going to punish you. That's something the government can't do, no matter how noble their desire or goal is, as they're asserting here.
How far could this go? If your clients lose, if the Supreme Court doesn't take the case, and the lower court decision stands, then how far could this go? I mean, could we ultimately see a lawsuit by a gay couple that won't, see a wedding service performed in a Catholic church?
Yeah, or I think you could have the liberal photographer sued by Westboro Baptist when he turns down an opportunity to photograph there. The head of the Alliance Defending Freedom, Alan Sears, was turned down this summer at a California hotel by a photographer who said, I can't in good conscience photograph you because of what your organization stands for. Now, we recognize that she has a right of conscience to do that, and we just wish that it would apply to everybody else. That's what we're trying to get the Supreme Court to say.
Okay, but in defense of the lesbian couple, if they have a legal right to be protected and not to be discriminated against based on the fact that they're lesbians,
Right,
but all
right.
these groups are allowed to exclude them nonetheless, then doesn't that gut the purpose of the law and the law in fact?
Well, I think that there's a difference between turning somebody down because of who they are. And Elane Photography would photograph people of same-sex orientation and other circumstances. It's the event that they're going to communicate. So the homosexual or liberal photographer that doesn't want to photograph Westboro Baptist, it's that he doesn't want to communicate the messages of the church service. It's not religious discrimination against people that hold the views of that church. So I think that they're basically mixing these together. There are some professions, website designers, videographers, others, that create messages. And for the government to say, you're just like, you have to do any message that anybody walks in the door, I think is a violation of fundamental First Amendment freedoms.
Interesting. We'll see if the Supreme Court takes it. Jordan, thank you for the preview.
Thank you, Megan.